Recording in progress.
I'd like to call to order the March 16th meeting of the Tredyffrin Township Board of Supervisors. The Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before announcements, I'd like to read a statement. As you all know, last Saturday night, the quiet calm of Tredyffrin Township was shattered when resident Megan Nieberly was senselessly killed. We want to extend our condolences and prayers to Megan's husband, children, family, and friends during this incredibly difficult time. The violence that took Megan's life has truly impacted our entire community. I know people are confused. How could this happen here? Angry, sad, scared, and lots of other emotions. While we are blessed to live in a township that is remarkably safe and generally free from violence, we're not immune from tragedy and heartbreak. Our public servants do a fantastic job keeping us safe, but what they can do has limits. They're guided by laws, regulations, and protocols. Every citizen, regardless of their views or actions, has rights and freedoms, and Pennsylvania, unlike 22 other states, does not have a red flag law. Now, I'm not saying a red flag law would have changed what happened on Saturday night. I can't know that, but it certainly would have given our police another tool to help manage the situation. Tragedy actually struck twice last weekend when, on Sunday, Corporal Timothy O'Connor was gunned down in Honeybrook. So this is not an abstract policy question, as Tredyffrin and the entire region was reminded last weekend. Our prayers go out to Corporal O'Connor's family and his fellow state troopers. Now this weekend I walked past Veterans Corner in Wilson Park, you know, with that big, huge, giant American flag. The flag was at half-mast, which for me brought up all kinds of emotions about the tragedies we've experienced. The nearby field was a girls' rugby game with lots of families cheering their team. There were families walking in the path, children riding bikes, couples walking, people with dogs. The juxtaposition was striking. And it should remind us all that Tredyffrin Township is still a wonderful place to live, work, and raise your family. And we as a board will continue to work collaboratively with our police department to keep our community safe. I know we've all seen and read multiple news reports about last weekend. Please understand, this is an ongoing criminal investigation and we cannot answer your questions tonight. But appreciate you coming to the meeting, and Chief Beatty is now going to share what he can about the events of last weekend. Chief Beatty.
Good evening, and thank you for the time. I know many of you here because you are grieving, concerned, and looking for answers. This tragedy has deeply affected our entire community, and we understand the fear and heartbreak that many families are feeling right now. My goal tonight is to share a little of what we know and provide some context for questions that we are hearing. I must start by saying our thoughts and prayers are with Meg Nieberly, her husband Gary, children, family, and friends during this incredibly different time. We understand that this crime has deeply shaken members of our community and caused fear and concern among residents. The senseless violence that took Meg's life has left a heartbreaking loss, not only for those who loved her most, but for our entire community. As we continue to seek justice for Meg, we remain committed to working together to strengthen the safety of our community and support the first responders who serve it every day. We will continue advocating for laws, resources, and procedures that help protect both the residents and the officers who work tirelessly to keep our neighborhoods safe. I personally pledge to work with our local legislators and community partners to pursue meaningful solutions in Meg's honor, supporting the Nieberle family, strengthening our community, ensuring our officers have the tools they need to serve safely. Let me walk you through a brief synopsis of what we know about last Saturday evening. At about 8:30 that night, officers responded to a call from Steve John, who was in the Paoli section of Tredyffrin Township. When officers arrived, John told them he believed someone was following him. John advised that he did have a handgun and that it was registered to him in his truck, and he did have a valid permit carry, which officers confirmed. The officers offered several times to get assistance for John, and eventually John agreed to follow the officers in his vehicle to Paoli Hospital to speak with a mental health professional. Once they arrived at the hospital, officers continued to speak with John in an attempt to convince him to seek further assistance from that mental health professional in the hospital. John declined and left the hospital lot in his truck at approximately 9:15 p.m. At about 10:45, Meg Nieberle was driving home after spending an evening with friends. Based on our investigation, we believe John approached the intersection of Contention Lane and Old State Road in his truck and shot Meg while she was in her car. Police and Berwyn paramedics arrived quickly and began providing aid. As officers investigated, evidence led them to identify Steve John as a likely suspect. Working with the Chester County District Attorney's Office, investigators obtained search warrants and developed probable cause to make an arrest. The defendant is currently being held without bail at the Chester County Prison. A preliminary hearing is scheduled for Monday, March 23rd. As this case moves through the court system, the District Attorney's Office will lead this prosecution. I want to thank the members of our community who provided videos and information that helped investigators piece together what happened. Your willingness to step up made a real difference. We are especially grateful to the two Good Samaritans who stopped that evening to assist Meg until police arrived and the Berwyn paramedics arrived. Investigations like this require gathering evidence, reviewing video, interviewing witnesses, and working with the prosecutors to establish probable cause. Our officers worked closely with the District Attorney's Office to make sure that this case was built carefully and correctly before making the arrest. As this case is pending in Chester County court system, I am limited tonight in what I can further discuss as to the specifics of the pending criminal prosecution for this devastating crime. Questions about firearm laws and policy are ultimately determined by legislators at the state and federal levels. Our role as law enforcement is to enforce the laws as they exist and to investigate crimes thoroughly when they occur. That said, when tragedies like this happen, it often leads to important conversations about how we can strengthen public policy, improve crisis intervention, and ensure officers and communities have the tools that they need to prevent violence whenever possible. I understand why this is so concerning, and it speaks to us as a community about how much we care about safety. Right now, the most important thing is respecting the family's privacy and continuing to support one another as a community. Opportunities to support the family will be shared through community organizations, coworkers, and friends into the future. Before we finish tonight, I want to say something important. This was a senseless act of violence that has left a family grieving and a community shaken. But I've seen something powerful over the last several days. Neighbors stepping forward with information, Good Samaritans stopping to help, and a community that refuses to look the other way. That is who we are. Our department is committed to seeking justice for Meg, continuing to work with our community to keep our neighborhoods safe, and advocating for meaningful legislation. Thank you for staying together as a community during this difficult time. Thank you for your time, Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Chief Beatty. And now I'd like to ask everyone for a moment of silence for Megan Nieberle. Thank you. If there's anyone here who has comments or anything else they'd like to share on this particular topic, yeah, please feel free to come forward to the microphone. And then if there's other business, we'll take that at the end of the meeting like we normally do, but I think this topic we want to cover now. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I happen to be on that road and live in that neighborhood, and I'm very concerned about the lack of communication. There was no shelter-in-place order given. That man walked around. His relative turned him in. And there was also, I think, some gunfire that went down in the lower section of Easttown Township. So I think his neighbors were very concerned about that. And I think the tragedy was preventable because he could have been 302'd. I mean, he was armed, he was dangerous. Megan didn't have anything, you know, nothing, no resources to protect her. Police have training. They have tactical gear. They've got a gun. She had nothing. So I think, you know, and this could have been a school or a church, and it could have been a lot worse. And I hope everyone reflects on that and decides to try to do a little better with this. And you know, maybe you can say, well, you know, well, we couldn't have done a 302, but I think the man just demonstrated some very paranoid behavior, and I'm very concerned about how it was handled. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, please.
Thank you. I've lived in the neighborhood, Joe Majiri. I've lived in the neighborhood for 35 years now. And we had been driving by the crime scene probably 10 minutes before it happened. In fact, you know, if we were 10 minutes late from where we were coming from, it could have happened to us. It could have happened to anybody. So it was very concerning. We live, you know, the next street over from the victim. And there are a lot of questions. And I guess I would start with, you know, when these things happen, communication is so important. There's a lot of anxiety. People want to know what's going on. And I have here an example I'd like to give you of an incident that happened 4 days later in Haddonfield, New Jersey. New Jersey, not Pennsylvania, very different. But in this event, there was a man having a mental crisis and lit a fire in their backyard. And the fire raged. The police were called. And what happened that same day is they took the man to a mental health facility. He was treated. And the police that very same day sent out a notification to the entire town. I can give you a copy of this if you'd like, stating what the status was. The very same day that they had taken the man to a mental health facility, there was no danger for the community. This is, I think, as citizens, what we expect. We know you're doing a great job, you protect us, but communication is very important during these times. Even just to say, we've made an arrest, no other details, I think would have put the community at ease. I did not see, maybe I missed it, any communication from an authoritative source until Monday at 1 p.m. So that was 30 hours after it happened. And I understand there was a lot of confusion. People didn't know what was going on. But I think we have expectations that we will be notified when something happens and the neighborhood is in a better place. So I would say, what vehicles do we have to actually communicate that something has taken place? How can we do a better job of that? And how can we do it sooner so that the anxiety that happens in these situations are relieved? I mean, we didn't know whether there was, someone around the neighborhood driving with a gun. We knew it was a random act. And I guess lastly, I'll just leave with, I think to follow up with what the prior person said is, We can frame this a lot of ways. It was a random act of violence, but we could also frame it was it a preventable act of violence? And I think that's the question that all of us are thinking. You know, were there tools that police had? Were there things that could have been done? I mean, one of the things I heard was it was a judgment call, which indicates that there were decisions that were made. So how can we do a better job next time so that this doesn't happen? So that's all I had. And again, I can share this with you if you like.
No, thank you very much. We appreciate the comments. Thank you.
Calvin Sizik. Just following these two, the nagging question that we all have is this preventable? Was this preventable? Preventable before the police were involved, preventable at the police level, preventable at the legislative level. And I think, what I'd like to see as a citizen here is at what point we might be able to reconvene as citizens and, forum here to ask some questions of the people that were involved in decision-making. I know we have a lawsuit, we have a trial going on and that kind of stuff. Superintendent of Police indicated that it was an opportunity, there'll be an opportunity at some point to look at what, moving forward, what kind of changes might be needed in something like this, which is really valuable. And I think the public should have an opportunity to to give some feedback on that and ask some questions so that we can, be a part of this process. So I'd ask the supervisors to consider at some future date whether we could reconvene a forum down the road to invite, all the parties involved, including our legislators, because it could be an issue of, the law and, the very nagging question of how somebody who has such, obvious mental health issues is allowed to have a permit for a gun. And I think that's a question that we need to ask our legislators about and look at this whole 302 at that level. So I'm not sure, we're not looking for blame, we're just looking for understanding. Thank you.
No, thank you. I appreciate all the comments.
Mr. Chairman, we have a virtual comment.
Wait, is there anything else in person before we go to virtual comments? Sure.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, great. Thank you. This is Katie Angstadt. I am a resident of Hickory Lane, so just around the corner from where Meg was killed. And I had sent an email last week to the Board of Supervisors and had received a call back from an officer regarding some of my questions, but wanted to come to the conversation today. And I appreciate so much the opportunity to be able to ask my question across this group. But really, I know there's so many questions and so much concern and heartache and devastation right now. And I think the question that I have is really around what the first commenter shared, which is this gap in time when there was no notification to our community that there was imminent danger. And the communication, what are the protocols and policies that we have in place around notification when things like this happen? Granted, there's always more information than we probably have because it's an ongoing case, but from what we've understood is that there was someone in our community who was very dangerous, armed for 6 or 7 hours, and we were not notified. And so it's just very concerning, and so want to make sure that as a community we understand what are the decision-making criteria that we are applying in these moments that say whether or not we are alerting the community through whether it be a shelter in place or reverse 911. Because again, we can sit here and belabor all the facts of the past, but hopefully we're never in this position again in the future. But should we find ourselves in this position in the future, I want to better understand how the community will be alerted so that we can protect ourselves and our families and our community.
Thank you very much. Any other comments from the remote people? Anybody comments here? Thank you. These are all thoughtful comments, and I appreciate it. And obviously, we're not answering questions tonight, but we do owe you more information in the future, and we will do that as we can. I think you guys understand with the whole situation, and we appreciate the thoughtful comments. With that, we'll go on with the rest of our meeting. Announcements. The supervisors would like to acknowledge Conestoga High School student Bernat Aurora, Mia Chow, and Daniel Loza, and their mentor, Karen Mull, as winners of the PennDOT Innovators Challenge for District 6. Now in its 9th year, the PennDOT Innovations Challenge is a statewide competition for high school students, encouraging them to develop innovative and strategic solutions to real-world transportation challenges. There's still a limited number of seats available for the bus trip to New York City to see Wicked. Go to the Township website to sign up. A reminder for motorists to drive carefully and follow the posted speed limits near South Valley Road and Circular Avenue as PennDOT installs a 4-way stop sign. And a reminder that the annual stormwater inspection reports are due by April 1st, so please get those in. Now we go to approval of the minutes. So I have a motion to approve the minutes of the March 2nd, 2026 public meeting.
So moved.
You're a second?
Second.
Any board comments or questions? Public comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The board met in executive session prior to this meeting to discuss legal and personnel matters. Now we go to supervisor liaison reports. Supervisor Brzunas.
Hi, good evening. Planning Commission, no update since the last public meeting. There's a meeting this Thursday, March 19th at 7 p.m. Supervisor Mamole will be covering me at that meeting. There will be 2 issues discussed: small addition to Johnson Matthey on Devon Park Drive, as well as a lot line change issue off of Old Eagle School Road near Walker Road. No development report, development committee report that is. No personnel committee report. The next meeting, the Fire EMS Commission, which is a joint commission of Tredyffrin and Easttown Township, is coming up this Wednesday, March 18th at 3 p.m. at Berwyn Fire Company, 23 Bridge Avenue. That is a public meeting. The only other thing to mention on that, our staff, especially Dean, continues to work very hard with information gathering with the fire companies. I'd just like to thank Chief Listener Paoli, Chief Lickman at Berwyn, and Executive Director Brian Zimmerman at Radnor for their continued collaboration and responding to Dean, as well as our staff representatives in Easttown Township as well. So we appreciate the help, because it's going to take all of us together to work on this. And just lastly, was able to cover a historical commission meeting on behalf of Supervisor Gassi, and they talked about the 250 that's coming up. They also talked about the ordinance that hopefully most folks listening at home and here in the room, talking about the protection of historical properties throughout the township. There's going to be an ordinance update, so please get on tredyffrin.org. There's information regarding that. A lot of positive work that's going on, and in my world, I do a lot of public safety stuff professionally, so it's nice and refreshing to spend a couple hours with folks that are really interested in the historical preservation effort here in Tredyffrin, which we have a lot. So, thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Brzunas. Supervisor Mamole.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. None of my boards or committees have had a meeting since our last public meeting. The Traffic Committee, however, will have its first meeting of 2026 this coming Wednesday, March 18th at 7:30 a.m. right here in this building. So that is the only update I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Von Moll. Supervisor Humble.
Thank you. The Parks and Recreation Board met last week on Wednesday, March the 11th. We received police report on any happenings in the parks, the Public Works report on what is going on in the parks. Specifically, one of the items is adding a comfort station to Mill Road Park. It will be operated on solar power, and it will also be movable in the event that there's any kind of flooding or there's another need to move the apparatus. Additionally, we heard that the summer camp counselor offers have been sent out. All the concerts are already planned and set for the summer. For the July 4th, that set will have several food trucks. The movie nights are set. And Again, the April 11th bus trip to see Wicked still has some openings, so if somebody wants to go see that, you can go onto the Tredyffrin Township website and reserve your spot. Finally, we talked about the April 25th community yard sale that's coming up, in case people want to participate in that. And there's also planned goat yoga in one of the parks for later on this year. Baby goats, yes. In new business with the Parks and Recreation Committee, we did hear from our liaison from the Historical Committee regarding plans for this year's 250th celebration of the birth of our nation. And they are working on many events to conduct within our parks. And so they were filling us in on what they're planning to do. Next, we heard from Conestoga Senior Vivian Pang, who is also a Girl Scout and working on her Gold Award. And she came to the Parks and Recreation Committee to seek permission to plant a tree at Stratford Park in the same area where Public Works had to take one out earlier because it was dead. These trees are actually very special. They're all offspring from trees that surround Walden Pond. So it's a specialized tree nursery that nurtures and grows these trees till they can be planted, and she wants to order one and then plant it later this month in Stratford Park. The Parks and Recreation Board was 100% in favor of this and voted for that, so I am now putting it to this board because this is the week she would want to have the tree shipped. It takes a while coming. So I'm going to make a motion to approve Vivian Pang planting a tree in Stratford Park for her Girl Scouts Gold Award.
And I will second that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Actually, I should have asked for comments. Any comments on this tree? I think we're all in favor of a tree, right? Yep.
Yeah, I just want to say she's really a special person. She is already accepted at University of Pennsylvania. So she's not doing this to pad a resume. She's doing this because she's a good person and she wants to finish this up, and we appreciate that. Anyway, that's all we have for Parks and Rec, so I'll turn it back to you, Chairman Miller.
Thank you, Supervisor Humble. Supervisor Gussie.
As you heard, Supervisor Brazunas covered for me for the Historical Commission, so I have no reports tonight.
Thank you. Supervisor Bhaskar.
So I have no report today because since the last Board of Supervisors meeting was delayed because of the weather, I was able to give my report at that meeting, so thank you, nothing today.
Thank you, Supervisor Bhaskar. Supervisor Johnston Pugh.
I do have a few updates on the Art Commission. I hope that people have came to see the art that is in the hallway in the Township building, and because of that, 2 of the photos have been sold. So I think that's a really... Oh, thank you. And so I'm hoping people will still come and look, because the people who did it, they really worked hard with the photography. The next thing that we're going to have on April the 11th is a kindness rock painting project in collaboration with Open Lands Conservation on Saturday the 11th at Lomere Preserve from 1 to 3. The address is 1435 North Valley Road in Malvern. And what it basically is, you would come, get a rock, especially younger people, to paint it, and you may want to paint one for yourself to take and put in your garden or on your front, and then one that would be left in the conservatory for them to put on the pathway. So I hope that everyone, would come and do that. And that ends my report.
Thank you, Supervisor Johnston Pugh. Now we have a motion to adopt the 2025 Subdivision and Land Development Activities Report as required by the municipality's planning code. Ms. McPherson.
Thank you, Chairman Miller, members of the board. The action is basically just as described. It is a required action in the MPC, and the report lists out everything that we did at the Planning Commission last year.
Yeah, no, thank you. Do we hear a motion?
Motion.
Do we hear a second? Any board comments or questions? Public comments or questions? Sure, come on up.
I have a question. Are the bathrooms locked down at night, like the ones that are down in the park? Yes. What time do they lock?
They lock down at 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. Okay, thank you.
Thanks. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion to authorize staff to engage with Chester County Planning Commission to update the township's comprehensive plan. Ms. McPherson.
Thank you, Chairman Miller, and members of the board. Yeah, this item, so we have been discussing a lot in our ordinance committee and internally with staff. We've been receiving a number of requests for zoning amendments, and after getting a bunch of these, we thought it was best to go ahead and take a look at our comp plan, which was completed in '21. Usually you do it on a 10-year cycle. But because of the timing of it, it was done in '21. Things have changed since the pandemic. We're seeing some changes in office use. We thought it was a good time to do sort of a modification of just kind of the future use sections, which could possibly lead to zoning amendments in the future, but we figured this was a good first step.
Thank you, Ms. McPherson. Do I hear a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any board comments or questions? Public comments or questions? I'll just say I think this is due. I was on that committee that did the work back in 2021, and I can tell you that we did not have the clairvoyance to know what was going to change with the pandemic. So I think this is a important project for us. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve the capital purchase of water rescue equipment for the TE Fire Department. Mr. Dortone, a new name.
Good evening, members of the board. This recommended purchase in front of you tonight was approved in the 2026 capital budget. It includes water rescue dry suits, helmets, and accessories to outfit 13 emergency responders. These would be career staff at the Berwyn Fire Company, and they serve on the search and rescue team for the fire company. We've received CoStar's competitive pricing and its staff's recommendation for approval of this item.
Thank you very much. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second? Okay. Any board comments or questions?
How much is it going to cost?
It's roughly in total just a little bit over $25,000.
Okay, thank you.
It's less than the budgeted amount. I got a good price on it.
That's correct.
Any public comments or questions?
You have a virtual comment?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mr.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I have a question on that. That gear that we need to get for those gentlemen, or I'm sorry, for those first responders at the firehouse. Have we investigated the possibility of getting that through the Relief Association?
The existing inventory includes 10 suits that the relief has paid for, but that can only be used by the volunteer firefighters. So this specific purchase will be used for the career staff.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. That was an interesting question, or important question. Any other questions from the public? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve serving wine and beer at the following library events. April 21, the Booze, Books, and Bites. May 15th, donor reception, and November 6th, adult party, which is the mini golf. Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Chair Miller, members of the board. Yeah, this is pretty straightforward. These are three important events that the library has annually. It's a nice opportunity to do some fundraising for them and also allow some adult beverages to take place at these events. Pretty standard that they will ask permission from the board to have these events. This is serving alcohol, so happy to answer any questions and go from there.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any board comments or questions?
Sure. So I think that this is something the library does every year, for the funding. The funding for the library comes from a number of different sources, but the donors are a major source of funding for the libraries. And these are events where the library brings the donors in. They have a little reception, it's beer and wine, and they do this every year. So I think that this is something that they're all worthwhile events and definitely worth supporting, so I would be voting for that.
Thank you, Supervisor Bhaskar. Any other board comments or questions? Public comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. A motion to adopt Resolution 2026-10 proclaiming National Library Week. Supervisor Bhaskar.
Thank you, Chair Miller. So I'd like to make a motion. I have to make a motion first before we can adopt it, right? So, okay, so I make the motion. Sorry, okay.
You can make a motion.
Okay. So basically, the American Library Association once a year designates a week as National Library Week. And every year they have a different theme, and they have a suggested resolution that organizations like us can adopt in order to show our support for the library. So this year the theme is Find Your Joy, because the libraries are places where people can go, they can learn, they're vibrant community hubs, and without going into the details of the resolution, because it's on the website and part of the agenda, I'd like to say that the Tredyffrin libraries are really a warm, welcoming place, and you can go there and there's a lot of stuff to do. It's not just about books. There's a library of things. You can get electronic materials. There are activities for kids of all ages, including people of my age, kids of my age, all the way down to like nursery. And so it gives me a lot of pleasure to make a motion to adopt this resolution.
Do I hear a second? Any board comments or questions? Public comments or questions? This is a roll call vote. So Supervisor Brzunas.
Aye.
Supervisor Von Moll.
Aye.
Supervisor Humble.
Aye.
Supervisor Gussie.
Aye.
Supervisor Bhaskar.
Aye.
Supervisor Johnston Pugh. And I vote aye, the motion carries. Motion to authorize executing a hazard mitigation grant program agreement between the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania through PEMA and the Tredyffrin Township Association with HMGP. This is at 4506 Yellow Springs Road. Mr. Burgo.
Chairman Miller and members of the board, this hazard mitigation grant program is something that we've currently had another project down in Trout Creek on Park Ridge Drive. We had an agreement a couple of years ago. We're working on some homes there that have been flooded and suffered flood losses. This is a home acquisition in the floodplain type of grant. We've been working with FEMA for some time. We have this agreement. This is for our property on Yellow Springs Road. This is basically a grant agreement between the state and the township. It will cover basically all the different costs are itemized in here from everything from engineering, basically appraisal costs, acquisition costs, demolition costs, and restoration of the property. The township would own the property at the end of this whole thing, but the agreement right now, it's all funded through federal and state dollars, zero township dollars. So this is the next step in the process. If this goes forward, then we will continue working with the property owner for the acquisition of that property.
Thank you, Mr. Burgo. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any board comments or questions?
So just a quick question, Steve. So this is the property that's at the end of Yellow Springs Road that used to be the Hires Estate, the main house, right? Okay.
It's located, it's like 1289 Yellow Springs Road. It's at the 90-degree intersection up there. They've suffered several severe flooding damage there. Their stream runs right through the property.
Yeah, so just, for the audience, this is a house that was built in the 1930s and was fine until the 2010s. And since then, they had one event where it got flooded and they had to be rescued from the second floor of the house by the fire company. And then there was another event where, hundreds of tons of boulders and mud came crashing down the hill and flooded the kitchen almost all the way up to the kitchen counter, and then carried the back door down the hill with the force of the mud. So this is definitely a property that needs to have hazard mitigation. But I will point out that this emphasizes once again the importance of having trees, because for decades there was no issue with their property, and then they developed a bunch of stuff up on top of the hill, cut down a bunch of trees, and trees basically stop stormwater from causing damage. So we need to really, if we want to stop more of these things happening, we need to really, preserve the trees in the township. So anyway, thank you, Mr. Berger.
I got a question. So after all of this is tore up and torn down, it's just going to be flat land? Are we going to plant, what are we planting there? Just the grass, trees, or anything, or are we just going to leave it plain?
Generally with this, when we go through the process, we demolish the structure and we remove like the foundation, the structure, and remove any utilities that are there. And then we will leave trees that are on the property. This property has FEMA had a constraint. We have to actually keep, there's an in-stream swimming pool that's actually built into the stream. Some architect actually built that. That has to remain. But all the trees would basically remain if they're in good, condition. We're only removing the structures and any of the buildings. There's a tennis court up there, things like that. All those things come down, and they would be basically left in a vegetated state.
Thank you. Any other board comments or questions? Public comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve Greenlight Go grant funding commitment letter for Lancaster Avenue detection upgrade and ATSPM implementation project. Mr. Burgo.
Chairman Miller and members of the board, we're back. We've discussed this with the board in the past. This is actually the next stage in this Greenlight Go, grant process. We submitted a preliminary scoping grant application last fall to PennDOT. We received comments back, and then the final grant application is due later this month. So we just, as part of that application, we just need basically a kind of a reassurance that the board is basically supportive, and they confirm that we would submit this grant application, and we have a funding letter commitment because there is a match required with this project. It is something that's identified in the capital budget for this year starting and for the next couple years in the 5-year capital plan. But that's something that with most of these grants these days, they all want to have a funding commitment from the township to make sure if the state gives us a grant that we're not going to basically say, we're not interested in this and we're not going to spend the money on the project. So they just want to reiterate. And I think I included that in my memo to the board. The total project cost is about $799,250. And basically 80% of that would be covered by this Greenlight Go grant. So that's over almost $640,000.
Thank you, Mr. Burgo. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any board comments or questions? Public comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion to authorize staff to work with Bowman on preparation of a submittal of a multimodal grant for Valley Forge and Sweetsford Roads pedestrian enhancement designs. Mr. Burgo.
To keep the grant theme continuing, we're here before tonight to ask the board to authorize the township engineering staff to continue working with Bowman on the preparation of a 2026 DCED multimodal grant. As the board will recall, last year we did ADA and basically signal improvements along this Valley Forge Road corridor. And this was part of the Gateway multimodal study, this area as well, looking at here as part of Sweetsford Road on the other side of the Gateway Shopping Center by West Valley Road. We looked at a couple different alternatives for potential grant sources to help us. We, in the fall, applied for a TASA grant. That's for construction. So we're a little ahead of the game. We're applying for construction ahead of design money. It didn't cover design. So this grant would be more for design focused. And it would allow us to do design. We actually were highly recommended from the review from the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission for the construction grant that we applied for in the fall. That's going to PennDOT, and hopefully this summer we'll get a decision on whether we get funding for that. This grant is due basically on or before the 31st of July. And if the board is basically wanting to do this, we can basically work with Bowman to get some of the technical information we need, and we will put a package together, and the township will submit that sometime probably in June.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Carlotta, you're a second, I guess? Thanks. Any board comments or questions?
Yeah, I have one. Just, Mr. Burgo, happy to assist to get support for DCED for this grant wherever possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Von Moll. I would just say that I live right near there. I see the kids walking all the time. This is a place we really need to install sidewalks. So I'm super supportive of this grant. Any other comments? Yeah, sure.
Ann Murphy, Berkshire Terrace. The EAC had some questions a while back about where exactly the grant will apply to on Sweetsford. Is it both sides of Sweetsford Road, or is it only the north side? And does it address pedestrians walking under 202?
That's a good question. For this grant, for the grant that we already applied for construction is just on the section from Walker Road towards the Gateway Shopping Center area, and then on the other side of Sweetsford Road from where the shopping center is to connect into the existing sidewalk that feeds under West Valley Road to where the trail is. There's an existing sidewalk there, so we interconnect, and there's a bus stop there as well, so there would be some sidewalk there as well on that end of Sweetsford Road. The construction is not including anything underneath 202 there's no design for that portion or nothing started at this point. This application we have a phased design. If we get funding for this from the DCED, we could include some additional design to look at connecting that into the Chester Valley Trail under 202.
Yes, because I think especially some of the residents of Old Forge Crossing were asking about that.
We've talked to PennDOT about that in the past. It is a little challenging to get underneath 202, but there are potential options there, but there's also some safety concerns to look at with the on and off ramps there to 202.
Okay, thank you.
That's a good question, Ann. Any other public comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve installation of bathroom facilities at Mill Road Park using the Greenways Trails and Recreation Program grant funds. Mr. Dortone.
Chairman Miller, members of the board, this action item before you tonight is to approve a request for the reallocation of the state Greenways, Trails, and Recreation grant previously approved in 2024 for the Mill Road Park bike track project. The bike track project is no longer feasible, and staff is requesting approval to request a reallocation of $113,000 of state grant funding toward a new restroom facility at Mill Road Park. This would fund a single stall restroom with solar electric. The unit's removable in the event of stormwater. I understand that we do get in bad storms a lot of stormwater in that area, and Public Works has the equipment that could move this unit if needed. As I said, it's about 7,000 pounds in weight. Total project costs are estimated at about $140,000, and the township would pay approximately $27,000 towards the state's 15% grant match, and the staff's recommendation to approve this change in scope.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any board comments or questions? Public comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion to authorize advertising a public hearing on April 20th, 2026 for ordinance HR 495 to amend Chapter 4, Administration of Government, Article 7, General Provisions of the Code of Tredyffrin Township. Mr. McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Recently, as we were actually preparing some of the charter amendments and as well as looking at the administrative code for some amendments, we just happened to notice that there was an incorrect reference in one of the sections of the code. It was referring to the wrong section of the second-class township code that had been referenced in your township code. So this is a simple fix for a typo, but it was not a typo from general code. It was actually in your original ordinance wrong that way, so we've corrected that.
Thank you, Mr. McKenna. Do I hear a motion? Do we hear a second?
Second.
Any board comments or questions? Public comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The last item on the agenda before we get to new matters is a motion to authorize advertising a public hearing on April 20th, 26 for ordinance HR 496 to amend the township's home rule charter. We actually have received some comments to the charter that we want to take a month to review, so we're going to table this motion, if that's okay, and then come back to it next month. I think we want to take a look at the comments we received and just make sure we're only going to do this once, so let's make sure we get it right. Is there any objection to that, or do we need a motion to table this?
Mr. Chairman, I will move to postpone consideration of agenda item 5L to our next public meeting.
Yeah.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, so this is tabled till next month, so we can consider other changes. Now we get to new matters. Any board member new matters?
I do. I got something, and I don't know if it would be the chief. I don't know who. The other day I was driving through Gateway, and the SEPTA bus stopped in the middle of Swedesford Road. There's no bus stop or anything there, but he stopped and he let people get off the bus, and they went down, they just come down a little hill and they went over. And I'm thinking, that's kind of dangerous, because even though he's on this side, people, swerve around and what have you, and that's not a bus stop. So is there anything we can do, Chief, to
Sure, what was the time of day again?
it was like 2 in the afternoon.
Okay, and I'll follow up with you. I can definitely call and find out, what was going on there. All the buses are tracked and there's cameras, and we'll see what's going on.
Yeah, he just stopped, and I was thinking, well, if you want to stop, why wouldn't you stop at the light at where First Watch is, or stop at the light, even though there's no sidewalk there, by 202, but he just stopped in the middle. I can't remember if it was the 123 or the it was one of those. And people got off and they walked down, and I'm like, that's kind of dangerous, because it's not I didn't see a pole that said this is a bus stop.
We'll keep an eye on it too. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Carla.
you.
Any other board member new matters?
Yes. Mr. Chairman, if you will grant me a brief moment of personal privilege, I would just like to take the moment to wish my mom, Diane Van Mol, a very happy 66th birthday today.
Yeah, happy birthday. I can't believe it's 66. That doesn't seem true. But anyway, any other board member new matters? Citizen new matters? The next meeting is April 20th.
Yeah, I don't normally speak in public, but I'm normally loud, so I don't need a microphone. I'm Christina Kovarik. I live in the neighborhood, and I'm a good friend with Meg Nieberly. I was not here at the beginning, and I understand you addressed it at the beginning, so thank you for that moment of silence. And so anyway, so a couple of questions. The rumor mill is strong, and I realize you are very limited on what you can say to the public on the investigation because it's active. My question focuses more on guidance, policy, as there are updates, as there are changes, as there is anything. Is there a central place where we can stay updated with regard to the process?
I'm not aware of anything other than the district attorney's office, as they're going to be the one who's leading the investigation. So frankly, to your question, if we had information that we were trying to gather, that's where we would be going to. So
Okay.
I expect that will be the primary source of information for any of us, to be honest with you.
Okay. And I've been very lucky in my life not have to stay on top of the district attorney for updates. So I don't even know where to go for that information, district attorney updates.
And I don't either, to be honest with you. Unfortunately, it was a tragic weekend for a couple of events, so I know in my conversations with the DA that obviously they have their hands full right now with two very important active investigations. I won't presume to speak for the DA about their policies on how they speak to those things, but what I can do is commit to following up with him and see if I can find some information out about that.
Okay, that'd be very helpful, just to kind of keep the rumor mill to facts.
Absolutely.
And you used a word that actually I had typed in my next question. It was extremely traumatic event. Here specifically, I'm focusing on Tredyffrin. I'm sorry what happened out there, but there. What services are there any services that are going to be made available to the community as we all process this mentally?
That's a great question. I don't think we have an answer.
Okay.
But we'll.
Put it, yeah, exactly. And part of this all is
I know,
just
I know.
consideration. You don't know what's going on in our minds, and so, yeah, it's just
We're
all,
we're as traumatized as you guys.
Yeah.
I mean, we are you guys.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're taking questions and we promise we'll get back to you.
okay, thank you. And, wow, this was just such a great segue to my next one, because my next one says thought for the future, which obviously that is. And also to put a request on record that when this investigation is finalized and you can share information, and maybe this is already a process or a policy, but a meeting, a hearing, a report, something that identifies, you know, again, this is when the investigation's done, I don't even know if this can be done, but where there are opportunities for additional training, additional policies, like it would be nice that whenever it is done, there's always opportunity for improvement, and what report is going to identify to the citizens where that improvement is going to be made. That is my request. Any questions for me?
No, we understand. You're not the first person to say this, so,
Okay.
yeah, thank you.
Great, all right, thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Any other public comment? You okay? All right, thanks. Thanks. All right, with that, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, thank you, everybody. And thanks, I know this was traumatic. I appreciate the comments.